And thanks for joining us on TVC News. It's barely 4 days to Osun State governorship election, and the Governing All Progressives Congress is not leaving anything to chance. Moments ago, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and other party stakeholders were at the mega rally of the party in Osogbo, where they collectively wooed voters to support the re-election bid of the incumbent governor of the state. Speaking at the rally, which signals the end of the campaign for Governor Oyetola's re-election, Bola Tinubu urged party members to unite and deliver a second-term mandate for the governor. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu also called on the electorate to come out and vote for the party on Saturday.
He has the love to face you in Osun, to ask you to please do the same thing. Come out with your PVC and vote massively for APC.
Governor Oyetola has indeed performed exceedingly very well. I have been on campaign trail with him. I have gone to nooks and crannies of Osun with him. And the people have said it, that indeed Governor Oyetola is deserving of another time.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has promised not to engage in any act to the advantage or disadvantage of any political party before and during Saturday's governorship election in Osun State. This is just as the Inspector General of Police deploys 21,000 police personnel to ensure enough personnel during the poll. This came to fore at the stakeholders meeting organized by INEC in Osogbo. TVC News correspondent Rafi Hamid reports.
It's an event to update election stakeholders on the Commission's preparedness ahead of Saturday's governorship election. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu, the Inspector General of Police, the Oni of Ife, governorship candidates of various political parties are all here.
Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has ramped up activities.
There were many support groups that work for different,
which is expected to consolidate and improve on the success of Ekiti election.
Conversion of voting points to polling units were done to ensure expansion of voter access to polling units. This increased the polling units in Osun State from 3,010 to 3,763.
Professor Mahmoud Yakubu gives update on the PVC collected. Out of 1.95 million registered voters, 1.47 million PVCs, representing 76%, have been collected.
A model voter accreditation system will be deployed for voter accreditation and uploading of election results on election day on the Commission's INEC results viewing portal, IRE.
The Inspector General of Police promised that security operatives will be neutral throughout the exercise. He warns politicians against violation of the Electoral Act.
This massive deployment is not intended to intimidate law-abiding citizens. Rather, it is to deter misguided elements that might bend on threatening the election through acts of thuggery or other conduct that violate the provisions of the Electoral.
Please. Politics, different support groups in Ondo State that worked for the emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress have agreed to collapse their structures to ensure the party's victory in the 2023 general election. The groups also agreed to form a coalition to mobilize more support for Tinubu's victory. They reached the agreement at a meeting in Akure, which was attended by prominent leaders of the party. Ayodeji Moradeo reports.
There were many support groups that worked for different aspirants before the emergence of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the presidential candidate at the All Progressives Congress APC primary election in June. In Ondo State, members of this group have resolved to collapse the structures to work as a team. This is one of the decisions reached at this meeting, as attended by APC chieftains and members of the groups. Chieftains of the party, including constitutional lawyer Tunji Abayomi, the state chairman of APC, Ade Adetimehin, and the former deputy governor of the state, Ali Olanusi, among others, stressed the need for all the support groups to work as a team. They agreed that all the groups should work under the supervision of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and align with the party structure in the state.
All groups should collapse to be one in the interest of winnability under APC Ondo State.
Four, and we agree that all groups must collapse into one under the able leadership of the party and the governor. You know, governor is the leader of the party. We don't want to have splitter group.
Some leaders of different groups described the idea as a welcome development.
Had a meeting at the level of Ondo State where we resolved that all groups that have been working hitherto for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all other presidential aspirants, we have decided to collapse the structures.
The massive groups that came here today, all the groups, almost all, let me say almost all, were represented, and this is very encouraging. Everybody wants to work for Asiwaju. So in order for us not to have divided interests, we bring in everybody together to work together to ensure victory for him.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they are making everybody, even all my friends who are in PDP, they are determined to deliver Bola Ahmed Tinubu, not because they didn't like their party, not because they are doing anti-party activities, but because they saw the quality in him.
New executive committee is expected to be inaugurated to pilot the affairs of the team that will work with the governor and the party. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
Let's now turn to security matters. No fewer than 18 farmers have been killed by unknown gunmen in 2 communities of Zamfara State. The farmers were killed on their farms in Kango, Karauchi village of Dangubi district in Maru local government area. An unspecified number of locals from Kofa community in Gumi local government were said to have been abducted by the bandits. Among the kidnapped victims are nursing mothers, including the wife of the village head of Kofa, who were forced by the bandits to drop their babies. The incident was said to have occurred during this Eid-el-Kabir celebration. When contacted, the spokesperson of the Zamfara State Police Command, Mohammed Shehu, confirmed the incident. He says the police is aware of the attack and troops are on the trail of the attackers. Communities in Zamfara have come under bandits' attack in the last few weeks, and several persons were killed while others abducted for ransom. And now to the southeast, where the new Deputy Inspector General of Police, John Ogbonaya Amadi, says he is determined to contain the rising insecurity in the region. The DIG made this promise during his visit to Enugu State, and Bamidele Ajayi has more.
For some times now, the southeast has come under heavy attacks by gunmen. That has largely affected economic and social activities of the region. And with that in mind, the new DIG in the region says an end to the insecurity in the region is just by the corner.
So I'm here to see the men, to encourage them, to motivate them, to steer them up, and then to sensitize them to the current moment. And there is a need for each and every one of us to be focused and to ensure that we don't fail Nigerians. We ensure that we do everything possible to make everybody sleep with his eyes closed.
The Enugu State Commissioner of Police says the command has achieved some success in the midst of rising insecurity in the region.
Since my adoption of duty in 10th August last year, we were able to arrest a total of 207 suspects, 14 victims of abduction and kidnapping that were rescued, and some of the perpetrated criminal activities include murder, unlawful possession of firearms, kidnapping, abduction, violence, armed robbery, stealing, vandalism, arson, and cultism.
Earlier, the new DIG, John Ogbonaya Amadi, was at the personal parade of 511 May Police recruits, where he represented the Inspector General of Police, Alkali Baba. The IG Ogbonnaya Amadi is in charge of the Department of Research and Planning and the 5 Southeast Police Commands of ENUGU, Anambra, Imo, Ebonyi, and Abia State. He succeeds DIG Joseph Ogbunike, who died on the night of March 2022 after a brief illness. Bamidele Ajayi, TVC News, Enugu.
And now to the lingering ASU strike. The Academic Staff Union of Universities Lagos Zone has responded to the call of President Muhammadu Buhari on ending the prolonged strike of the union. The zonal coordinator, ASU Lagos Zone, Adelaja Odukoya, in a statement, describes the enough is enough message of the president as laughable, stating that government is yet to come to terms of the striking lecturers as they decry the state of tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The association says other unions in the nation's public university system, as well as unions in other tertiary educational levels in the country, are also on strike for similar reasons. They called on President Muhammadu Buhari to do the needful and act presidentially by signing the renegotiated agreement, authorize the end to the ruinous, evil and exploitative IPPIS, and the adoption of UTAS, payment of outstanding allowances, stop the proliferation of universities, and ensure the proper funding of public universities, among other things. President Buhari had called for an end to the prolonged strike of ASU, while he received some governors of the All Progressives Congress, legislators, and political leaders at his residence in Daura on a Salah homage. And now, following the armed attacks on custodial and correctional facilities across the country, there has been increased scrutiny of the Nigerian Corrections Service. Regardless of these challenges, the Corrections Service has had a few successes to point at. Our correspondent Larry Adeyemi met a former inmate at the Custodial Center who has been transforming his community and has become a model citizen. The report.
Abdullah Abare is a man of many parts. A street hustler who landed in prison and was released in 2019. The reformation, rehabilitation, and skills learned in custody has made him a brand new man. 3 years later, Abdullah has become an icon in his community, training, mentoring, and empowering.
By going to prison, I learned something that if I come back, I will change my life and other people's life. Staying there is something that you are going to learn something, because the people that you are going to meet in there, different kind of people, different kind of crimes.
In the last 3 years, Abdullah has invested time to take kids off the streets, get them off drugs and the life of crime. He has trained over 145 youths in handcraft, design, and tailoring.
All those boys that you see here, I teach them many things, going to school, handwork. I don't want them to commit any crime, to involve themselves into kalari and other things. And I am sure they are not one of them.
Aliu is one of Abdullah's early apprentices. He has witnessed firsthand how his boss has labored to get young men and women like him off the streets. He desires that his mentor be supported to do more for his community.
We sell clothes here, and we also give training to some youth, which I believe reduces the youth engagement in thuggery and illicit drug abuse. So we are calling on government and philanthropists to please come in and give us all the necessary support so that we can reduce the number of unemployment in the society.
Nigeria's correction system is far from ideal, but once in a while it can point at some good it has achieved. Abdullah is proof that good can come out of prison. His efforts to keep youth off crime, off drugs, and out of prison should be supported. Landry Adeyemi, TVC News, Gombe.
In other matters, Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has tasked the international community, particularly the United Nations, on active participatory roles to assist the state with its developmental agenda. Governor Soludo was speaking when the United Nations delegation, led by the resident and humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Matthias Smale, paid him a courtesy visit at the governor's lodge. Professor Soludo emphasized that his government wants to benchmark with the rest of the world in transforming Anambra into a livable and prosperous state. In his response, Matthias Schmil said the visit was to familiarize with the Southeast and erase the perception that they are only interested in the Northeast.
Strategic partnership with the international community, with federal government, and with, if you like, the foundations and so on, happens to be at the heart of our strategy for getting Anambra to move. And I would dare to say for getting Nigeria to move. That we must build a prosperous homeland, a livable and prosperous homeland. That, and of course, with every itinerant tribe, wherever you go, there is some persecution.
I think that the plans are in there. You've seen the governor's plans. He has a pillar on what to do on the environment side, what to do on the governance and rule of law side, what to do on the security side. So we were here to listen, learn, and then see how our development programming can be aligned to it.
We all agree with the governor that the main key for the development will need to come from private sector and attracting private investors here to invest in Anambra. And I think this will be one of the major takeaways.
Elsewhere, Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu is calling on intending 2022 Christian pilgrims from Edo to use the opportunity of the trip to pray for the state and country. Philip Shaibu made the call while dispatching the 2022 intending pilgrims to Israel and Jordan. He said the trip is a serious spiritual exercise and should be used as an avenue to seek spiritual solutions to myriads of problems bedeviling Nigeria.
As you go to the Holy Land, remember Edo State in your prayers. Pray for our state and pray for Nigeria, because we cannot isolate ourselves. No matter how good Edo State will become, if the entire country is not good, the ripple effect will still affect us. So we need to pray for Edo State, and we need to pray for the unity of our country and the progress of our country. Next year is another election year for this nation. I need you to pray for a peaceful election and pray that God should give us a leader that will manage the collective natural resources and human resources that God has given this country.
And outside Nigeria, White House officials say newly declassified U.S. intelligence indicates that Iran is expected to supply Russia with hundreds of drones, including weapons-capable devices, for use in the war in Ukraine. The Kremlin says the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, will travel to Tehran to hold talks with the presidents of Iran and Turkey next week. This agenda is coming up at a time of more attacks and killings in Ukraine's Kherson. We'll have more details.
Moscow says air raid in the Russian-held town of Nova Kakhovka has killed 7 people, while rescue operations continue in Chasiv Yar, hit by a Russian missile. According to Russian-backed officials, at least 7 people have been killed and dozens more wounded in an attack by Ukrainian armed forces in the Russian-held town in Ukraine's southern Kherson region. Russian local media say Monday's attack caused an explosion at fertilizer warehouses that damaged surrounding buildings. But Ukrainian officials say their forces had destroyed an ammunition depot in Nova Kakhovka. The head of the Russian-installed Kakhovka district's military and civilian administration in the Kherson region, Vladimir Leontev, says there are already 7 dead and about 60 injured. According to him, there are still many people under the rubble. The injured are being taken to the hospital, but many people are blocked in their apartments and houses. Meanwhile, Ukrainian emergency services say the death toll from a weekend Russian rocket attack that hit an apartment block in the Donetsk town of Chasiv Yar has risen to 33. 9 people have been rescued so far.
Last news this hour. We'll have more updates at 7. In the meantime, remember to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using the handle at TVC News.